So welcome once again to another interesting episode of Inside Out. And this week we have a topic that I think should concern all of us as Nigerians, which is the extinction of our indigenous languages. You would find out today that most young people cannot actually speak their native languages, not mother tongue now, their father tongue, the one from the village. Do you speak your native language? Where are you from?
I'm from Edo State.
You're from?
Edo State.
Do you speak your native language?
Not fluently.
Can you tell me why you can't speak your native language?
Actually, as you said, I was bred and brought up in Lagos. Though my parents here in Lagos here too. And did most of my schooling here in Lagos. And one good thing about it is that we don't speak this language at home.
Okay.
We don't speak it in my house. We speak English. So
you speak English in your house?
So
okay, is there any native language you understand?
Yes, Yoruba.
Really?
Yeah, yes. As long as I'm in Lagos.
Sir, let me talk to you, sir, Dr. Abimbola. What do you think on this issue? Is our indigenous language becoming extinct?
I will still refer to the first speaker on this program, the gentleman, Christian.
Yeah.
How would the languages not go into extinction when it is not spoken at home? You don't need to answer me. It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I know.
How will Nigerian languages, not only Yoruba or whichever, will not go into extinction when the generations, the young ones, are not speaking it? The young men and women of today are supposed to be leaders of tomorrow, like you and I were young people some years back. And the children being born today are, by God's grace, going to be the leaders of tomorrow, when none of us will exist. Definitely, we are not bequeathing to them any language the way people behave these days.
Okay. Mrs. Amayo, you are an educational consultant. What is your view on this issue?
Well, charity begins at home. Like the young man said, it's not spoken at home. I grew up outside the country. But one thing I'm grateful for is my father, because when we were outside this country, but in another part of Africa where I grew up, he always insisted that we speak our language. I mean the real indigenous dialect. And I'm grateful for that. I can speak my language to the core. And I'm from Nigeria. Once upon a time I was teaching, and then all of a sudden I switched to my language, and the boy said, "Wow, you mean you just switched from Oyibo, go enter Urobo like that?" I said, "Yes, I'm proud of that." Every generation is a custodian of its culture, its tradition, and its language. These three things are important to human survival: culture, tradition, and language. Without language, we are nowhere. Without culture, we are nowhere. Without tradition, we are nowhere. There will be no continuity.
Do you speak your language in your own home now?
I do. My husband is here, and he can testify to that. I even insisted when naming our children, there must be an Urobo name, because he's from a different place and I'm from a different place. Another problem is intermarriages.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Doesn't that create a problem? Which one do you now concentrate on teaching the children?
The challenge is this: it's better they do understand one than they don't understand any one of them at all.
Just like what our professor over there have just said, there is nothing we can do to stop this, except we reorientate or review rather our national policy on education. Because the whole thing borders on the school. Nigeria as a country, we concentrate on certificate holding, not even the practicality. And what is the key to this certificate is English language. Once you cannot pass English language, you find it difficult to
That is true.
Yes, to go over all other subjects. So in view of that, the family think that to avoid the F9 with WAEC or NECO, then it is better we start English language in this family.
That is a valid point.
I can tell you that because of that, many people don't even take their children to the local areas so that they are not corrupted with the language of the locality. That is the dialect.
And the truth is, most parents, when we are looking at the results, we just skip past Yoruba House and
they go to English.
Where's English and math?
Yes.
That's what
Those
we
are the
study.
important things. I got 100 in Yoruba. Is that a subject? Please, where's your English? Which is our attitude. A lot of us as parents. And so actually our mentality, which I think is brought about by the environment and our value system.
Westernization.
Yes. That seems to be the problem.
Yes, in a way, the schools, particularly the teachers, they are really trying in terms of teaching.
If so much emphasis educationally is placed on English language, then why should I encourage my child to learn the indigenous language if it will tamper with English language, which is compulsory in school? That becomes the question.
It won't tamper. Like I said before, there is no way it's going to tamper. If I'm teaching my child my indigenous language, he's going to school and he's being taught with English, it's not going to tamper in any way.
What is the greatest barrier? What is the problem?
That's what I said when I just started this. When we started, it's from the home. As they say in charity, they say belongings at home. If my parents have started speaking this language to me, I'm taking my own example.
Yes.
Right from when I was very young, I don't think it will tamper with my English language.
So you think that there's a lack from the home?
Yes.
There's some lapse. There's something the parents are doing wrong.
Yeah, because I could remember when I was growing up, I was very inquisitive as a young guy growing up, and sometimes my aunties will come to the house, speak my language to my father, my mom, and somehow we just eavesdrop.
But your father, he understands it and he speaks it.
Of course, he understands it very well.
Have you ever asked him why he doesn't speak it to you?
Yes, he says, after I'm burning money on you to go to school and speak good English, as my son, you have to speak good English.
When you talk with your friends, okay, let's say you speak Yoruba now.
Yep.
That is the one you speak.
Yes.
Do you have a time when, people interact in any other language but English?
Pidgin English. Apart from English, Pidgin English, then Yoruba. That's what we interact in very well.
Most of the time, what do you speak to each other?
I guess it's Pidgin. Basically in schools now, it's just Pidgin.
So it's mostly Pidgin?
Yes, mostly Pidgin.
The trend is that everybody speaks English. The trend is that everybody eats European food. The trend is that everybody dresses in European way, and so on and so forth. You will see somebody going along Coca Road, London on my mind. You will never see somebody Morocco
My mind.
or Ajegule.
My mind.
In the whole of my estate where I live, it is only in my home that my children speak very polished Yoruba, and no home.
I've never even heard anybody say, I thought you were going to say polished English.
And
I've
no,
never heard polished Yoruba before.
Polish Yoruba. I
Okay.
repeat, and no home on my estate. You have children speak better English than my children. My children at the age of 5 assist me to write my letters, be it in the other language or the other, and they record credit passes in WAEC or NEC or whatever, and ditto for English or Yoruba, and they don't necessarily go in there to do one thing or the other, but it is on record. And when I speak to my children, whatever the age, he or she knows the meaning. I don't need to complete it. You know what the next thing he will do is he will just leave whatever he or she is doing at that moment, because the earthy meaning of that word is behave.
No English interpretation of that.
No English equal.
I was going to ask, what is that mean?
No English equal. By the time I say, hey, Biodun or Olu, he will just take a record. That is the beauty of African language.
I want to direct my question to the prof. You are all encouraging us to learn our indigenous language.
Yeah.
Beautiful and excellent. Now, if this young girl learns her Yoruba and speaks it fluently, and tomorrow finds herself with an Igbo person that speaks Igbo fluently, what medium are they going to communicate in?
When they marry.
Don't let us miss the trend of our discussion. Okay. I said it at the beginning
that we are multilingual.
That this country, as long as we remain an entity, is a multilingual and heterogeneous society. And as such, there's nothing you could do in such a society than to have an arbiter in form of a lingua franca,
which is what
English is.
That was his comment.
My question or my contribution is, has the government ever given an award to anybody that have been speaking the indigenous language so fluently?
Okay. Doctor.
That's a challenge.
Because he was like, what is the encouragement? Do they give to people who speak English fluently? They do? Nobel Prize is not given by Nigeria.
I think we black, we have this mentality that anything that comes from the white is always the better one. And that is why on so many occasions, we try to like adopt or even copy the white. And as they always say, the imitation is the father of limitation. And that is the problem we are having in this country.
Stigmatization of those who speak the local English and local language. If I am speaking Igbo and I make a mistake, nobody talks to me. But if I am speaking English and there is an error, the reaction of the people around here will show me that I have made a blunder.
Yes.
So, since there are so many languages in this country, we can't learn all. More than 500 languages. Which one do we learn? I'm going with what he said. Let's uphold our lingua franca. That means the pidgin language. Let's modify it, use it in exams, and impart it in our...
Okay, let me put it like this. If you want to, the next 3 comments must be in your indigenous language. If you can't, put up your hand. If you can't, don't put up your hand.
Ana make kununu. Igbo kwenu. Ndị ba in Enugu State, there you know.
What I want to say today is, it is good for us to speak our indigenous language. To speak the language from your mother and your father's place. If we don't speak it, we're missing our way. Okay, thank you very much. Charity must begin at home, obviously. And so a lot of us who have it as a problem, like Christian has decided to do, have to find a way to go back to our roots. I'm going to just ask for last line, something you want the audience and the viewers to go away with. And let me start with you, Alaji. Just something, a word, the last line of advice
yes,
on this issue.
There is the need for a public enlightenment from a meaningful educationist in the society about the need for every home to speak the indigenous language. Why we leave our lingua franca to the school to teach us, and we speak and interact with it.
Thank you. That's
for people that are just like me, that cannot speak my indigenous language, I still stand on my ground that we go back to our roots. Disregard whether our parents like it or not. Okay, let's go back to our roots. I'm able to stand, as the professor has said. If I can't speak Edo, that means it's true I'm not from Edo State. So I want to encourage everyone here to go back to their roots and be able to speak their own indigenous language and pass it on to their own generations.
Mrs. Amayo.
Every generation is a custodian of its language, culture, and tradition. As we are carrying English, let us carry our indigenous language along.
Thank you. Dr. Inde.
Well, the adage says, what is not in the premise cannot be in the conclusion.
Yeah.
That is, what you don't have, you don't give up.
Yeah.
Nigeria is the only country, or let me say Africa as a continent, is the only continent where its children are not tutored or trained in its own language. That is, we don't have a language. And whoever doesn't have a language doesn't have an identity. Charity is supposed to begin from home.
Yeah.
If at homes your traditional language is not spoken, then you are dying out. The death of a language is the death of a culture and of a people.
Thank you. I don't think I can end it on a better note than what the panelists have said. Until next week when we come again talking about something else equally as interesting, make una day kampe. Bye-bye.